Anchor 1. In a surprising development, Cuba has openly welcomed the Chinese fleet off the Florida coast. This has raised many questions about the current state of leadership in Cuba. To provide more insight, we have with us Dr. Michael Garcia, an expert on Latin American politics. Dr. Garcia, can you explain why Cuba has taken this stance? Dr. Garcia: Certainly. The key lies in understanding the current leadership in Cuba. The island is now under the control of a dictator even more repressive than Fidel Castro. This leader, Premier Alejandro Suarez, is an ardent admirer of the Kim Jong-un regime in North Korea. As a result, Cuba has been transformed into what many now call North Korea on the Gulf of Mexico. Anchor 2. That's a strong comparison. What makes Premier Suarez's regime so similar to North Korea's? Dr. Garcia: Premier Suarez has implemented policies and practices directly inspired by North Korea. This includes extreme repression of dissent, complete control over the media, and a pervasive surveillance state. Political prisoners are common, and public executions have been used to instill fear and maintain control. The regime has also focused heavily on military strength and self-reliance, similar to North Korea's Jusha ideology. Anchor 1. Who exactly is Premier Suarez, and how did he come to power? Dr. Garcia: Alejandro Suarez was a high-ranking military officer in the Cuban army. He gained power through a coup, overthrowing the previous government in a swift and brutal takeover. Suarez has no intention of leaving power anytime soon. He has established a hereditary leadership structure, ensuring that his family will continue to rule Cuba for generations to come. His son, Carlos Suarez, is already being groomed to succeed him. Anchor 2. What has life been like for ordinary Cubans under Premier Suarez's rule? Dr. Garcia: Life for ordinary Cubans has become incredibly difficult. The regime has clamped down on all forms of personal freedom. Travel is heavily restricted, and communication with the outside world is tightly controlled. The economy is in shambles, with food and basic necessities in short supply. Any form of dissent is met with harsh punishment, including imprisonment or execution. The education system has been overhauled to include heavy indoctrination, and the military presence is felt in every aspect of daily life. Anchor 1. Given these conditions, why has Cuba openly welcomed the Chinese fleet? Dr. Garcia: Premier Suarez sees an alliance with China as beneficial for several reasons. Firstly, it provides a counterbalance to U.S. influence in the region. Secondly, it aligns with his vision of a strong, militarized state. By welcoming the Chinese fleet, Suarez is signaling his commitment to forging strong ties with other authoritarian regimes. This move also ensures military and economic support from China, bolstering his own regime's stability. Anchor 2. Does this mean Cuba is becoming a more significant player on the international stage? Dr. Garcia: In a way, yes. By aligning with China and adopting a more aggressive stance, Cuba under Premier Suarez is asserting itself as a key player in the geopolitical landscape. However, this comes at a significant cost to its own people, who continue to suffer under his oppressive rule. Anchor 1. What does this mean for the future of U.S.-Cuba relations? Dr. Garcia: The open embrace of the Chinese fleet by Cuba represents a serious deterioration in U.S.-Cuba relations. It complicates any efforts at diplomacy and increases the likelihood of further tensions in the region. The U.S. will have to navigate this new reality carefully, balancing the need for security with the desire to avoid escalation. Anchor 2. Thank you, Dr. Garcia, for your insights. The situation in Cuba under Premier Suarez is indeed alarming and adds another layer of complexity to the current global crisis. Anchor 1. Stay tuned as we continue our coverage. Next, we will explore the implications of this new alliance between Cuba and China and what it means for the balance of power in the Western Hemisphere. We'll be right back after a short break.